Welcome to the Becoming a Streamer podcast by Pipeline, where we sit down with your favorite streamers and learn more about where they're at today and their journey getting there. I'm your host, co-founder of Pipeline, Stone Mountain 64, and today we're joined by Ezekiel III, full-time variety gaming streamer who got started on Twitch before it was even called Twitch. Now at 190,000 followers, has a huge audience. He's actually hosted official Twitch events. He's part of the Drop Frames podcast, as well as a role-playing show called Gone, and so much more incredible content 6 days a week over on his Twitch. You can get a direct link there through Zeke3.tv. That's Zeke, the number 3.tv, which will send you right over there. And if you love this podcast, share it with a friend. We have new episodes every single Monday. And without further ado, enjoy the conversation. Zeke, thank you so much for joining in on the Becoming a Streamer podcast. Glad to have you on today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Hope we can get to know you a little bit more. It's a bit of your journey, kind of getting into all this and where you're at. And that's kind of where I like to start at the beginning is, where are you at now? Like, what shows are you doing? Where are you streaming at? What games are you streaming? Like, what's your kind of content like right now?
Well, my content has always been, ever since the term variety streamer came about, I've always tried to like keep it video games, but keep it true as like, you know, quote unquote, true variety as possible. So my content is usually, old, new, doesn't matter like when the game came out, what platform the game is on. In fact, I found that like, one of the biggest like draws for my channel is trying to play games on CD-ROM, stuff like that. So I've even made a month where I do that. I do January every year for the past 2 years has been CD-ROM-a-thon, where I take old games on CD-ROM and play them off of the CD. Like there's a lot of people who come into the channel during the during those and go like, why don't you just get it on GOG or Steam or something? It's like, that's the point. I want the skips of the CD, and I want all that good stuff in there. Like I want the crappy sound. Maybe maybe the disc has a scratch on it, you know, whatever. But so yeah, I try and keep it as variety as possible. I do Drop Frames, which is a podcast we do. Just basically that is like a Twitch centric show that we do, where we talk about video games, news, things that affect Twitch, updates to like the website, updates to, well, I mean anything gaming or Twitch related, we definitely talk about, and sometimes we talk about other stuff that doesn't have anything to do with that, just because we're, you know, we're beholden to no one, so we can just ramble on. But I also do a role-playing show, a tabletop role-playing show on Wednesdays, called Gone, and it's in a rule system that I had never used before called Nibiru, and it's a sci-fi thriller mystery kind of a thing. It's a lot of fun.
Wow. And
yeah, that's my content. Yeah.
You've been creating the Drop Frames podcast. I think that started in 2015 right?
I don't know, man. It's been a long time.
I think that's what I found when I saw it. But you've been doing that for a very long time. How long have you been doing like Gone? And I guess even you mentioned you kind of have been doing variety streaming since it was called variety stream. Was that something that you did before that, or like how long you been doing that as well?
Well, actually, the funny thing is I started streaming on Justin TV. Well, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning.
Well, I was just kind of curious, like how so like the shows you're currently doing, like how long have you been doing some of those, like the role playing, the you know, the variety per se?
Right. Role playing shows have a tendency to run their course. So I've been a part of a lot of multi-episode shows that have come to like a conclusion of sorts. So I've been doing them for a long time, but Gone has been going on, I want to say, for the better part of this year. So 6-7 months, something like that. I don't know. I could be way off though. But
sure.
Yeah, it's yeah, we've put a lot of episodes in the can. I'm not sure how many exactly, but
and in terms of your schedule right now, like, are you streaming every single day? Are you what's your schedule like?
My schedule is I stream Tuesday, through Sunday. So I take Mondays off. I have to. Even though like sometimes my brain doesn't want to, I have to take at least one day off. And sometimes I need to take an extra day off, and I'll do that too. But more often than not, I stream 6 days a week, take one day off. On my own channel, like with my own stream, it's 5 of those days. And then the 6th day, Wednesday, is I'm on the 2 shows that I mentioned.
And is that you just wanting to keep on doing more about trying to pace yourself of why you take the day off? Or is it just...
It's more about, I wanted to treat streaming more like a full-time job. When it became a viable source of income, when the idea crept into my head that I could do this for a living, and not do like a job where I, go to work and, retail or whatever. I said, I'm going to go about this like a real job. I'm going to do at least 30 to 40 hours a week. And it came to the point where I was thinking about streaming every day. It's like, why I could just stream every day. Yeah. And the day off is very important as far as a mental reset. Give yourself, a chance to like, if your voice to heal from, just speaking all day for 8 hours. But more so to give yourself a little peace, a little zen, where you can just, do nothing for a day if you need to.
And how did you kind of transition into streaming and spending all this time on it? Were you doing something similar in terms of speaking before you got into streaming? And you mentioned, Justin TV. Like, what were you doing before you created content?
Well, it felt a lot like home to me, and a dream job of sorts, because I've always been in theater, improv, stuff like that. I did multiple local theater productions, plays, musicals, and stuff. I was in an improv group for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, gimmicky bar improv for drunk people, but I did that for a long time, for 17 years, like I said. Yeah. And it was, it's in my blood. I have to entertain people. If I don't, like, I have to find an outlet for that. And it just went hand in glove with Twitch. Well, when it came about that I could do this.
That is so cool. So was it kind of like, did you find live streaming and be like, oh, this is a perfect outlet for what I want to do? Or what was your transition to even considering doing it in the first place?
Okay, say that question again. I want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, I guess like, you're doing improv, you're doing theater, like you're interested in this type of stuff in the first place. When you first started seeing streaming or, wanting to get involved with it, what was that process like for you? Of like, did you see it and just, oh, I got to get into this? Were you a bit hesitant to get into it? Like,
therein lies the genesis story, I guess, of my streaming, is that a very close friend of mine, Man vs. Game, he started streaming, and it was on Justin TV, and he said, hey, there's this thing I'm doing. I'm streaming. And I went, oh, you mean like you stream? And he's like, no, there's a different site that does different stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So I checked it out, Justin.tv, and I was like, this is strange, man. And I looked at the video gaming section, and well, actually, before I even looked at the video gaming section, he invited me over for his second or third broadcast to play Smash Bros. With him, with a camera and with a microphone, and with I think we had 2 viewers, maybe 4, I think at max. And we sat there and we had a great time. And I went, I don't know, man. I don't think this is going to catch on. And he's like, I think it will, man. And I said, I mean, I would watch it.
Right.
But I don't know anybody else who would watch like 2 assholes on a couch playing video games. Apparently a lot of people were down with that. So I did that. guested on his couch for a little while, and eventually, like, I made my own Justin TV channel, and I wasn't doing video games. I was doing like a Mystery Science Theater ripoff. I was doing it, I called it Flick You, and I watched bad movies like Cool as Ice and Catwoman, and just like talk shit about them for an audience, because I love Mystery Science Theater. I love what they do. I think it's hilarious. I thought I could do it, and I did it for a while. I did it until I got DMCA takedown, because I was definitely showing copywritten movies. Like, there was no question about it. They were like, "Hey, stop."
Can't
And I
do
was
this.
like, "What are you talking about, dude? I'm about this." They were like, "Nope, shut me down." Like, oh, damn it. And that was shortly before Justin TV became Twitch. So when Twitch rolled around, I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I messed up. I'll do video games. Can I have my name back?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. It's a new thing. Come on over." I was like, "All right, cool. All's forgiven. Won't mess up again."
Learn
And
that lesson.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. Yeah, so that's how I got into it. I started doing it like after work and stuff like that. I would work like 50 hours a week and stream like 30, and that's how. And the outlet, trying to get circle back around to your question, it became a very cool outlet for my want or my need to perform, to entertain,
Yeah.
to make people laugh and stuff. So yeah.
And when you kind of switched back to Twitch and came back to it, was it, I mean, obviously you have to kind of do a different strategy of what you were doing before. What was that like for you, figuring out the content that you kind of wanted to create as you started out?
There's definitely some like ideas you put in your head for what you want, like what your persona, what you want to, how do you want to come across to people. I looked at other channels on Twitch, and I thought to myself, what can I do better than most? Improv, characters, stuff like that. So my idea was to really just like go with well, I got a gift from a viewer. This is where kind of it all started. I got a gift from a viewer, and it was a Viking helmet, like a huge like metal Viking helmet with horns and stuff. I was like, that's it. That's who I'm gonna be. And I'm like that. Like,
oh wow.
This is like part of the artwork, part of the persona
Yeah.
that I had for a while was this like Viking Norse, like, Valhalla warrior kind of thing. And that's where like Zirconia came from and all that, all that gimmicky stuff. And I would like, every time someone would subscribe, I'd have like I'd improv this like welcome new warriors, like to the clan of Zirconia and stuff like that. And a horn. It's still I still have the horn that sounds for a new sub, that but it's tamed considerably since then.
Sure.
But I would go off on like rants for every new subscriber. And that's where I think I garnered a lot of my first like viewers and my first like regular people who would come around.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's fucking crazy and he does like improv and stuff. And if you subscribe to him, he'll give you this whole diatribe. Like, so that's where like, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted for my content. I wanted it to be video games, but like, I wanted you to feel like you're part of a warrior clan of people, just imagination. I never thought like it, I hope it never came across as anything more than like a fun kind of a joke.
Sure.
Yeah.
And did a lot of people come back from, who had been watching you before? Was it kind of starting over again at that initial point?
Oh, from Justin to Twitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the time that I spent between Justin TV and Twitch becoming a thing, I was still doing like guest spots. By this time, we had started calling them Men's Day on Wednesday. So I would be over on Man vs. Games couch. We'd be doing like co-op or versus and stuff like that. So I was still like a presence, but I didn't have my own channel anymore.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I still had kind of like
Still
a
involved.
built-in audience. I've always said like it was like Colbert and Jon Stewart.
Hmm.
Like he was the Jon Stewart, the legend. You know, he's been around forever. And I was just like Stephen Colbert correspondent trying to like, you know, and then I eventually made my own show kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you've been going through this, obviously you've been doing this for a very long time. Is there anything that kind of stands out maybe initially of like bigger breaks that you might have had where something really started to take off for you? Or anything that kind of stands out?
Yeah, the first big thing that happened for me, and it's kind of funny. It's actually kind of funny, because it has to do with Man versus Game again. There was a competition called Intel's Next Top Live Streamer, and they wanted Man for that, and he said no. He said I don't want to do that, and I said hey, I don't mind. I'll do it. And I got no shame. I got no shame or no pride, no nothing. Go ahead. Put my name in. He's like, all right, I'll tell him that I won't do it, but my friend will do it. And that's basically how that happened was he dropped out, put my name forward. I did that show, and that's where I met like for the first time I met Tim the Tatman was in it, Co Carnage was in it. Like a whole bunch of really, really huge names were in the competition, and that's where Co and I actually became friends. It was like, oh, it's gonna be like a reality show, so we should do like these team up things where we like secretly team up and maybe we spice up the show and stuff like that. And that's where, yeah, there was this. I remember there was a hashtag competition on Twitter to see who would get the most impressions. And I said, okay, we combine our hashtag. Like we do both of them, and my people and your people will promote both. So we'll get most together.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it ended up being all right. It ended up working, but I went out in 5th place, and I think Co went out in 3rd. I want to say 3rd or 2nd. Yeah, no, he went out 3rd. That's right. But yeah, that was one of my first big things. That's where I got on the some of the Twitch staff got their eyes on me, like DJ Wheat, Anna Prosser, Jeff in Control. They were judges, stuff like that. So that's the first time they were seeing me.
Yeah.
And they saw how I conducted myself and how I conducted my stream and that kind of stuff. And then eventually, like, I went to a PAX event and met Wheat, and I said, hey, you know this hosting thing that you're doing? You're interviewing game devs and stuff? I can do that. I'm good on a microphone. I can handle myself with other people. I can vamp. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, man, you got your chance.
Oh, wow.
PAX East. And I was like, okay. Threw me to the wolves too. Like, didn't even like took the gloves off and was just like, you're gonna do the entire event.
Whoa.
Like, you're not gonna do every segment, but
sure.
I thought I was gonna do like 1 or 2 audition segments, but that's not the way Twitch worked back then. He was like, you're gonna do you're gonna do 2 days, and you're gonna do like segment, break, segment, break, segment, you know, like that kind of shit, the whole thing. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So those were my 2 big breaks, I think.
What was it like, you know, because you had some experience talking, but you're literally putting yourself up for this spot and then you get it. Had you done other hosting events and things in the past, or was it like something that was brand new? Like, were you nervous for that event?
I was. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. I had never done like interview style hosting stuff before. However, let's be fair. It's not like I was, you know, interviewing Oscar nominees. I was interviewing sweaty, nerdy game devs, and I was like, oh shit, I'm one of you, dude. No problem. I can totally interview you guys. We'll just nerd out and talk video games. That's easy peasy. I can totally do that. You know, every once in a while, like when I started doing it more and more, Twitch was going to actual like Comic-Cons, like the Comic-Con. It was going to like C2E2, New York, Emerald City. Like it was going to quite a few like regular Comic Cons. That's when I actually got to interview some like, household names.
Sure.
Not often, but every once in a while you get like an Adam West and be like, oh, but like when starting out like at PAXs and stuff, you're dealing with people from like, Devolver and Tiny Build and 505 and like stuff like that. Like you're dealing with the PR people. So you get to interview the same persons like quite a few times for different games because that's what they're hired for. They're hired to hype up the games that are coming out for the, their publishing company or whatever. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I mean, yeah, to your point, like your experience kind of comes out, especially once you get into it, right?
Oh yeah. You start rolling, you start realizing like, how much can I get away with? Okay. I'm going to find the line of what I can do. And then if someone, slaps my wrist, then I know there's the line right there. So, but yeah, I think my personality and Twitch's like idea of what they wanted they jibed pretty well.
And when did you transition, if you did have a cleaner transition, to kind of doing all of this full time streaming? Because you mentioned before you're working 40 hours a week or whatnot with it while streaming 30 hours in addition to it, or like what was that transition over to becoming a full-time creator?
Well, I worked at a pawn shop, and I had moved myself up to a position where I was me and he was technically my boss, but we were kind of, I would consider us more of like partners, but we were in charge of the online sales for all of it was a pawn shop chain. So we were in charge of the online sales for the pawn shop chain. And we sold things on Amazon, eBay, Gunbroker, stuff like that. And it's gonna sound like I never do anything, like I never make my own decisions and do anything for myself. But I had been streaming for a while, and it started becoming a viable option. I was having trouble pulling the trigger, like going like, I quit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do this video game thing. But the guy I was working with, he said he got a job offer for a different place, and he put in his 2 weeks. And I went, this is a good time to tell you I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks too. I'm sorry, I gotta go. So he pulled the trigger, and then I was like, I'm not gonna work without him. Yeah. So I'm leaving too. So yeah, that's basically how it came about. In April of 2015, I want to say 2014.
And was that like, were you nervous to pull the trigger because you liked what you were doing, or it felt like Twitch and all this stuff might go away? Like what was the...
Still does, homie. It still does. It still feels like any day it's just gonna go. Like in Gladiator, it was like, Rome was a dream. You could whisper it, or else it would crumble and blow away. That's all that's it. Twitch always feels like that for me. It feels like too good to be true, man.
Yeah.
Feels like it's too good to be true. So every day I'm like, better be saving. Yeah. Better have that retirement ready to go, buddy. So like, seriously, Twitch forced me into adulthood. Like, it's like, I got savings. I got, an IRA. Like I got, all that shit. Like I got health insurance and all that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And when you ultimately did it and switched over to going full time, did you just commit all of your time to it? Because, you mentioned you keep a day off right now. Were you just going full 7 days, full, like, what was the first transition like to it as you went full time?
I want to say like, because by that time, because I didn't quit my job until I was sure that my next paycheck, at least from Twitch, was going to cover everything I needed it to cover, rent, bills, and all that kind of stuff. So by that time, I had already established in my head that I was going to do this full time. I was going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to treat this like a regular job. Like I said before, I'm gonna do it 40 hours a week.
Right.
So I didn't like go crazy. I did my I did my 40, and I think at the time I might have been taking 2 days off. I'm not sure if I was, because that seemed like the right thing to do. It seemed like 2 days off is, regular work week.
Sure. Yeah.
However, I eventually transitioned into taking just one because, I mean, you want to stay on people's minds if you can.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I was mentally prepared for that. I really wanted it to be. I didn't want to treat it like fun too much, because then it becomes frivolous. It becomes something you can just like slough off and not do if you're your own boss stuff. So I wanted to make sure, like, mentally I was prepared to treat it like a career.
And did you make a big announcement to your channel? Like, did you make a big deal about you kind of committing to it and everything?
Yeah. That's a lot of people celebrate their sub button or, the like. The day I personally celebrate is the day I quit my mundane job and did this adventure. So yeah, I made the announcement that I was putting in my 2 weeks. And then I did my first my first stream as a full-time streamer, and it was a huge, I can't even tell you the elation of that.
Yeah.
It's like telling someone's like, hey, we got a job. You're going to make a lot of money and you're going to have to eat whipped cream every day. Like, I think I can do that. I think I can manage that.
And did you have support from friends and family at the time? I mean, you probably had some streaming friends at the time as well, but like, what was that experience like, even telling any of them?
This was before, this was 6 years ago, probably.
Yeah, I think you said 2014 about.
Yeah.
So definitely early days of all of this.
Yeah. So you still, to this day, you have to explain what Twitch is and stuff like that. You have to explain to people, but less so. Yeah. It's less and less you have to do that. But back then, no one knew what the hell was going on. So you have to explain to my mom, explain to my dad. And Dad, the way I explained it to him, he finally got it. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, I explained what it was. We play video games. So like, who would watch that? And I said, Dad, people watch golf. And he went, yeah.
I see.
Okay. Like, I can see how people would watch it. I mean, you're a funny guy. You're engaging and stuff. Golf isn't. People watch that like religiously. So, okay. Like, once I laid that down on him, he was like, okay, I understand why people would watch you now. And then he asked why people would pay you. And I said, well, they don't have to pay me to watch me. But look in your closet, Dad. You'll see like your Jeff Gordon jacket and hat. And like, remember when you were into the Phoenix Suns for a while? Remember you bought the jersey and the jacket, or the t-shirt and the jacket and stuff? He's like, yeah. It's like, that's what they're doing, man. That's what my emotes are. The emotes are the hats and the jackets. They show they're part of the team. And they can show those off all around Twitch. They're once they subscribe, they can use those emotes everywhere to show like that they like this team. So, okay. He got that. Like, all right. And my mom was just like, as long as you're happy. I'm like, okay. I'm very happy, Mom. Well, good. Okay. You just let me know if you get too stressed out or something. Okay, Mom.
That's awesome. I haven't heard that comparison, but that's a good way to put it. I mean, there's so many different, even within Twitch, there's so many different niches. There's so many different categories of everything. It's crazy. And as you've been doing this, I mean, how has your content, if at all, like shifted as you've been going through it? Or has it been mostly just always a focus on variety games? Like, what's the journey been like for you in terms of the content?
As with any, like, I feel like I feel like a lot of times I'm on a talk show. Like I'm I'm Colbert, I'm Kimmel, I'm, Conan. I'm doing a talk show. And then there's bits that you do, like reoccurring things.
Yeah.
You try different things. Sometimes they don't work. Like I'm pretty open and blunt and vulgar, and I'll make jokes about whatever. And we decided, like, I was like, all right, you know what? Let's do, because a lot of channels did like theme months, and I've done my fair share of themes, special occasions like Christmas, Halloween. I've done my fair share of just special stuff, but it doesn't always go well. Like I was gonna do a month of like super masculine, like sex and violence, and I called it Cocktober. And about 2 weeks into it, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I didn't. I was like, nah, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't like it. I don't like where this is going. I don't like how it makes me feel. So I was just like, let's try something else. But I done like fundraiser weeks for like St. Jude and the like. I've done like theme months, CD-ROM-a-thon. That went off like gangbusters.
Yeah.
And I think half the reason is because I troubleshoot trying to get the games to work, and people remember like, oh man, I remember like you had to do the Sound Blaster fix where you did this, and like they remember like installing this shit and having to fix it. But I'm getting off track. I'm sorry. But yes, my content has changed. I've tried to add little sketches here and there. I did a thing called Fatterday where I would work out, like do like Beat Saber or like Richard Simmons workouts, which I probably need to reinstitute. You know what I'm saying? Which has been good to me. But yeah, it just like I try and pepper in stuff that I think people would like, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And do you think like maybe that's a skill of its own, but what skill do you think you possess that's, I guess, helped you over all of these years doing it and to keep up doing it as well?
I think it's the same thing that would make me a good a host or anything like that. It's improv gets a bad rap, for being like kind of cheesy and corny and that kind of shit, but it does teach you valuable lessons. And the you've heard of yes and, right?
Yep. Yeah.
The yes and thing, it's a mindset to have. It's a muscle you work with. It's a muscle you can flex. And the more you use it, the more second nature it becomes to roll with something, to come with something off the top of your head. And that's okay. Am I getting to your question?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, is there anything that stands out to you as a vital skill? And I think 100% your improv and just, yes and, where if somebody says something, you don't say no and shut it down, but you say yes, and then you keep adding on top of whatever it is, right? Like,
right.
I think that when you did that, was that something that was taught to you? I'm guessing to an extent it was taught to you, but obviously, or was it more the experience of doing it for 17 years and like putting that out there and putting reps in? Was it something that you immediately picked up, I guess is what I'm trying to ask?
It's something that I kind of already had like innately, but
sure.
It is something that can definitely be taught. I learned just how far it goes. How far it goes into your life, not just on stage, but into your life when you have like a yes kind of attitude. And I don't want to sound like, like the Far Cry cult guy, like the cult of yes. Like, I don't want to sound like that, but it's kind of like that, You say yes to experience, say yes to what's happening, what's coming to you. Your life, like, okay, as on stage, the scene is more interesting. Your life is more interesting the more you can say yes. Now, I'm not saying like, obviously don't say yes to stupid shit.
Sure.
Don't be dumb about it. But like stuff that scares you that is not going to hurt you or kill you, like say yes to it, man. I'm saying do it. But yeah, that skill set is definitely something that has helped me not only, in streaming, but definitely in life for sure.
And as you've been going through live streaming in general, like I'm sure you've been asked before for like advice on streaming, getting started, or at any state of it. I guess, what advice do you have out there for other creators who are getting into it or learning about this?
Yeah. I'll give you it's I've said this before. It's like getting into any sort of creative career that you want to do. If you want to be an actor, a singer, a dancer, you know, something in the entertainment industry, a streamer, it's best if you go into it for the love of the game, you know, to use a turn of phrase. If you go into it for the money, I think it'll create an animosity towards the art form you love. If you love it. You know, I've known a lot of people from high school, because I was in drama club, of course. I mean, big surprise. And a lot of the people that I did drama with went on to try and, you know, make their hand being an actor or comedian or something like that. And they wanted to be big and stuff like that. And they came back like feeling like just bitter towards the entire fucking thing, you know? They just resented the thing. And that's the same thing with streaming. Like if you go into it wanting to make money, there's a good chance you're just going to end up just resenting the entire experience and platform and that kind of thing. I never expected that. I guess I was lucky enough to be in a position where I saw for the first 3 years, no one making nothing. Like 2010 to 2012, 13, no one making shit. Like it was $0. Like I remember one of the first paychecks man showed me he got into the partner program and was allowed to run ads on his stream. This is before sub buttons. He was allowed to roll ads and he got like a check for like less than $10. And I was like, he was like, check it out. I got paid to play video games. And I was like, woohoo, you know? And that was the first time that it was so exciting. And but no one was making a living doing it. You could make a living if you were doing well on YouTube. Because YouTube obviously was still like, you know, money horse for anybody who did like video game content. Money horse? Did I say, yeah. You know what? Money horse, I'm coining it.
I get what you're saying.
Trademark. But yeah, like YouTube was the only way to make money. Like Swiffer, close good friend of mine. Love that guy. He was streaming, but he was also, you know, YouTube was doing very well for him. So he could stream on the side or stream like content, but have his bills paid from YouTube. And I know a lot of YouTubers like that stream because it was fun, YouTube because it was lucrative.
Sure.
But yeah, before anybody made any money, it was just like, you go into it wide-eyed. You're like, hey, I get to play video games with my friends. And then suddenly it's like, what? I can actually make some decent money doing this?
Yeah.
Woohoo! You know, so I was spoiled like that. I was spoiled. I saw that. I saw the transition. But a lot of people coming into it just see like the, you know, the lyrics, the shrouds, the summits, the ninjas, the co-carnage, like those people, like Dr. Disrespect. They see those people and like, these guys are fucking rock stars and they're making millions. Yeah. But so is Tom Cruise. You think you're going to jump right in and be fucking Tom Cruise?
Yeah, it's not a get rich quick scheme by any means.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This isn't like, you don't get it's harder. I think it's harder to get a break on Twitch than it is to get on like doing movies and stuff. This benefits like consistency and work. Like the more you stream, the more consistent. I'm not saying stream yourself to death. That's what I'm saying. Right. More hours does not equal more success, but consistent scheduling and that kind of stuff, that definitely will like build you up and you can make a sustainable living. Like I know tons of people who are like, you know, in the working actor class in Twitch. They're like, I pay my bills. I do all right. I got a nice apartment. I got a dog I can feed. I'm doing okay. You know, I know a lot of people like that who are just like doing that, you know, middle class lifestyle. It's great.
That's awesome. No, I really like that advice. And with
Sorry
that,
for babbling. I could just babble for hours about this
dude,
stuff.
that is the thing that I notice every time I do one of these is literally we could talk for 3 hours, no problem. But I do try and keep it down a little bit more for everybody. And with that, we are getting a little bit long, so I want to wrap it up. If people want to check you out, hear you talk about it more or everything, what's the best place to find you?
You can find me on my Twitch channel. If you want to use the cool URL, Zeek3.tv.
Woo, there you go.
Or you can just twitch.tv/Ezekiel_III. And that's the same on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, all Ezekiel_III.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.